going on, guys? This is Gene Jensen, and I'm going to talk about the things that are going to happen in May and how you're going to catch the fish and what baits you might want to consider. So stay tuned. All right, so May, let's talk about what's going on in May. Typically, most of the southeast, you're pretty much almost post-spawn, okay? You got some of the last bass that are spawning. Water temperatures getting up into the mid-70s, going up into the 80s, and then a little bit further north, you're looking at serious, solid bass spawn. The largemouth are going to be spawning. Spotted bass will be kind of finishing up, and the smallmouth will be done as well. So, well, there may be way up north, there may be some big smallmouth spawning. But anyway, I want to talk about the southeast and kind of midway up. So in May, typically, what you want to look for is you want to figure out what bait or what is spawning besides the bass, because the big bass are going to move into those spawning areas, are going to feed on the fish that are spawning. So shad, blueback herring, bluegill, shellcracker, whole bunch of other bait fish start to spawn in May. So that's something that you want to be prepared for. For bluegill and for shellcracker, you're going to look really shallow, and you're going to do what I call smell of fishing. Pretty simple. Go into a pocket, go into a shallow area, and if you start to smell a real fishy, strong smell, you're in a pocket where they're spawning, and you want to start looking. And you stand up and you go around and you look for these little potholes and things like that. And you start to fish in that area and fish around that area, because somewhere in that pocket is going to be a wolf pack of big bass, be it spotted bass on a spotted bass lake or largemouth or a mixture of the two. My favorite baits to throw during that period of time, and what I'm going to do as I introduce these baits is the link to all these baits are going to be down in the bottom, down in the description. The very first one that I throw around bluegill beds, around shellcracker beds, stuff like that, is going to be a wacky rig. Not something I particularly love to throw, because it's kind of like watching paint dry if you throw it the traditional way, but this is an aggressive style. You throw it out, you let it sink just a little bit, and you jerk, 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 and you pause, and you jerk, 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 and you pause, and you work it through that bluegill bed really, really good, or that shellcracker bed, and the bass will be around that area, and you're going to get bit in the first 10 or 15 casts. If you don't, there's no bass in the area, move on to the next one and keep finding them. And I would suggest you mark these on your GPS as you go along. Now, what I'm throwing a wacky rig on, and I'm going to leave a link to the video that I talk about it all on here, but I throw a Gamakatsu wacky rig hook. Let me see if I can get the focus. There we go. Wacky rig hook. I like a 4-inch. This is a general. I think no, this is not a general. This is a yum dinger, but I use just about anything. I'm not picky, but I'll leave a list of like I said, the 2 or 3 of my favorite ones. 8-pound test fluorocarbon, and I need to retie. I got a little nick in my line right there, but 8-pound test fluorocarbon leader, and I think this is 10 or 15-pound test Cigar high vis. I think it's called Flash Green. And it is a great braided line for this. Now, what I have this rigged on, and I would suggest you could either use a spinning rod, a medium to a medium light spinning rod, or what I'm having fun with right now is this new Kestrel BFS reel and rod. It's just a lot of fun to fish. If I was fishing a tournament, I'd want a rod a little bit stiffer, but this reel is dynamite. So 10-pound test braid on that. This is a light rod. And it's kind of on the, like I said, it's on the little bit of the light side, but I like a medium light, so I might switch it to a medium light bait caster. And what I love about a bait caster over a spinning reel is that you get more casts in, and you're a lot more accurate with it. So a nice short rod that's a medium to a medium light, skipping it up underneath the docks. You can use a spinning rod, that's just fine. They skip just great. But like I said, you can get more cast in during the day on a spinning reel or on a bait caster. So anyway, wacky rig around bluegill beds. Also underneath docks. Skip them underneath docks that are close to those bluegill beds. The bass will be hiding in those shadows in that dock. All right, so the next bait that I'm going to be throwing around bluegill and shellcracker beds is going to be, and I don't have one rigged up right now, but it's going to be a weightless or a floating worm. Okay, like I said, there's videos about them. I'm gonna link them. But anyway, a floating worm is a dynamite way to do it. When you're covering water, you kind of attack two different worlds. You attack the males that have just come off bed and that are garden fry, and you fish for the big females that are around bluegill beds. I like green pumpkin. I'm going to throw a green pumpkin trick worm, you know, on a light to medium light rod. I sometimes throw it on a medium heavy or a medium rod. It's just a little bit more of a challenge to cast. So, and you're going to cast it out, jerk, jerk, pause, jerk, 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 pause. You're going to work it really fast through those bluegill beds and get that reaction strike from those bass. The third one I'm going to throw around there is going to be a Ned rig. And this is a little bit different. If I have a bluegill bed that doesn't have a whole lot of cover around it, like a dock or grass or stumps or something like that, I tend to want to throw a Ned rig. And the way I throw it is I cast it out. I use a 10th ounce Ned rig with a little TRD. I cast it out, let it sink to the bottom, and I slowly reel it back in. Let me show you how slow I'm reeling. Just like this, with a spinning reel or a bait caster, either one, but slowly reeling. And I just want to drag that on the bottom at a steady speed. And every time it hits a little edge of a bluegill bed or something like that, it ticks up. And you swim a little bit more and it ticks up. And I don't know what that is. And I discovered this about 6 or 7 years ago, but I destroy bass on those clean bluegill beds when there's no cover around. Dynamite way of catching them. All right, so the next one is the shad spawn. And matter of fact, let's see if I can get this zoomed in. I don't have a very good zoom on this camera, but that stump, the one that's just barely in the sun, the one right there, has got shad spawning around it. Okay, and they're about to kick off. We're in the evening right now. They'll spawn all night and into the morning, and I'll put a video up about that so you guys can learn the details of it. Ooh, Zoomo. All right. So I have several shad spawn baits that I love to throw. And I'm going to pull one of them out real quick. Probably the one I cover the most water with and really spend a lot of time with is some type of a white swim jig. Okay, just like this. I'm going to put a white trailer on it, just a paddle tail trailer, some type of a swim bait, 3 1/4 inch. 3 3/4 inch. I don't typically go to a 4 inch. I think it's a little bit too big, but some people do in some certain lakes. But you're skipping it around docks and things like that, along seawalls, along stumps, anything hard that's on the surface of the water, even green leaves that are hanging in the water and that kind of stuff, they'll spawn on that. I'm going to throw it on a medium heavy rod, basically a jig rod, medium heavy, moderate rod. And as a matter of fact, where's my chatterbait rod? This rod right here has become one of my favorite, not only chatterbait rods, but my favorite swim jig rods. And this is the spiral wrap rod, the Cliff Crochet spiral wrap rod. It's a medium, moderate rod, and you can, man, it's so good. It has enough give to be able to fight the fish pretty good, but enough backbone to be able to set the hook. Absolutely dynamite. But it's a 7'4", I believe. Let me see. Yeah, 7'4". I pair that with either braided line, 50-pound braid, or 20 to 25-pound fluorocarbon, and I'm just going to work it in those shallows and jerk it around and hop it and everything else. And one of the things that I've learned from using a swim jig and using something like a spinnerbait, when they're up the shad are up spawning, and you want to be able to get those bass to react, is you throw all the way up against the bank or even onto the bank, drag it off into the bank, make 1, 2, 3 turns, and then kill it. A lot of times those bass are within the first 3 or 4 feet of the bank, and if you can stop that bait and let it fall in front of their face between them and the bank, they're going to pin it, and they'll hammer it every time. It's more of a reaction strike. All right, so the next one is probably the most fun, okay? And it's, of course, going to be a topwater bait, some type of a shad-colored topwater bait. And my favorite is probably a popper. This is a Rico. Like I said, I'll leave all this in the description, but it's a Rico popper. And you tie this onto a medium rod or a spinning rod, medium action spinning rod, and the same thing. You throw it right up against the bank, pop, pop, pause, pop, 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 pause. And early in the morning when the shade is on the water, they annihilate it. Now I love the ones with the feathers on the tail. You don't have to have them that way, but sometimes it seems to get more bites by doing that. Good gosh, the bass are moving up right now. I better hurry this up so I can catch something. So a popper, and then a white wacky rig Senko would work as well. I don't have one. I don't even own one, but that just popped into my head. A really nice, if you love to throw a wacky rig, just wacky rig a white Senko. Do the same thing. A 3/8 or 1/4 ounce spinnerbait is another one, and all these can be fished on a medium fast rod. And what else? And like 12-pound test fluorocarbon or monofilament. It's absolutely dynamite. But let me think, what's the next spawn? The next spawn is kind of a specialty lake, but a lot of them are here in the south, are your blueback herring lakes. And blueback herring will get out on those flat points and they'll spawn. Those flat points, those blow-throughs, you know, any kind of really shallow clay banks, that kind of stuff, they'll spawn on them. And one of my favorite ones is, and I'll have to look up what brand makes this, but this is actually a custom painted one that I got years and years ago, before 6 cents was a thing, by Cody, the owner of 6 cents. He painted this one, and I still throw it. But there's one on the market that copies that, and those are really good. The small ones in shad colors or chrome, like this one right here. This is a 13 fishing power slide, something big, pencil popper style with chrome. But the one I tend to throw the most when I'm covering water, it's the easiest one to throw. It doesn't wear you out quite as much, and that would be the Clear Super Scoop Junior. And I put a red treble hook on the front hook of it, and it just gives the bass a target, and you'll catch 99.9% of your fish on that red treble hook. Again, well, with topwater, you don't want to be throwing fluorocarbon. You want to throw braid or monofilament. And what I like to do is throw braid with a little short leader, a short mono leader, so it doesn't get wrapped. The braid doesn't get wrapped around the treble hooks. So when I say short, probably 12, 13, 14 inches is about it. A jig around that period of time when the bass go down, when they're not schooling, drag a jig around, drag a Carolina rig, throw a double fluke rig. Anything like that is really good for that. But no matter what lake you're on, just let me think. So no matter which lake you're on, just identify what bait fish are spawning in May, and when the mayflies come out, same thing. And then attack those areas where they're spawning, because that's where the bass are going to be feeding back up, getting ready for the summertime, feeding up after the spawn and after they've beat themselves to death spawning. And you can't beat it. You really can't beat it. It's a lot of fun. But if you can identify those bait fish that are spawning, you will be successful in May. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing, introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water, go out and catch some fish, and have a great day. We'll see you.